concerned what will happen to those families if this tax credit expires? And aside from the shutdown, is there a plan to keep those premiums down?
Look, as the Vice President just said, we are more than happy to have this conversation. The President and the Vice President and this team are more than happy to have that conversation with Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill, but it cannot happen right now. Right now, we need to reopen the United States federal government because people are going without pay. You have thousands of federal workers who have to show up to work and not get paid, and that's an unfortunate situation the Democrats have put us in. Then we can discuss this very important issue of health care that the President absolutely wants to fix. As I mentioned yesterday, he took... But those premiums do not expire until the end of the year. It's October 1st right now, and so we have a few months to have that conversation, and it's irresponsible of the Democrat Party to try to convince the American people that that conversation has to happen right now. No, what needs to happen right now is the reopening of the United States federal government, and then this administration will be happy to work with Democrats in good faith to come to a policy determination. But one red line the government has already made clear, this administration has already made clear, this administration is never going to support taxpayer-funded benefits going to illegal aliens. And we think it's despicable that that was one of the first proposals that Democrats put in their funding proposal, in their CR. The Republican CR was a clean CR that would keep the government open. Democrats have voted for it 13 times in the past. The Democrats put this poison pill in there, this partisan pill. Why? Because they are beholden to the far left radicals in their party. And you already see 3 moderate Democrats having the courage to say no. We need to keep the government open, and then we can have these conversations about health care. Mary.
Caroline, I just want to circle back to something the Vice President said about Ocasio-Cortez. I'm actually surprised it didn't come up sooner. So if Schumer is catering to the demands of Ocasio-Cortez, can you share whether the White House views this as cracks in Schumer's leadership, and would the Vice President be open to meeting with someone like her if she is assuming this role in the Democratic Party?
I'll let the Vice President speak on that himself. I think that certainly Senator Schumer was not expecting 3 moderates to break with him last night. In fact, last night you heard Senator Schumer say he can't guarantee that he will be able to hold his caucus together. And so again, we encourage Democrats to have the courage to do the right thing, do what you have done 13 times previously, and vote for this clean continuing resolution to keep the government funded. As for what the Trump administration and President Trump is going to do, we'll continue to be very public that we want the government to be open, and as the Vice President said, we'll continue to work in good faith with anyone on Capitol Hill who wants to do right by the American people. Thank you all so much. We'll see you later.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon and welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. You were just watching White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt taking questions relating to a government shutdown. She said layoffs could be coming very soon. So, as you already know, a government shutdown kicked in overnight. The last time this happened was during President Trump's first term. It lasted 35 days, making it the longest shutdown in history. Republicans control Congress but need Democrat votes in the Senate to pass funding bills. NTD Washington correspondent Melina Weisskopf has more.
This afternoon, senators voted yet again on 2 opposing government funding bills, one from Senate Democrats, one from Senate Republicans. They voted on the Democrats' version first, which would, in addition to funding the government, also extend Obamacare tax credits as well as repeal certain changes to Medicaid that Republicans made under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. This bill failed with no Republican support. Then senators moved on to vote on the Republican House-passed version of the continuing resolution, which would simply extend government funding for the next 7 weeks, keeping government funding levels stagnant at levels that Republicans and Democrats agreed to previously. That vote also failed on a vote of 55 to 45, the same tally as yesterday, though still 5 votes short of the 60 votes needed to get this government funding bill to the White House. The sticking point is around health care. Here's both sides.
You should go read Chuck Schumer's counterproposal for the CR. We have a clean CR, they have a dirty CR, okay? And one of the reasons it's so dirty is because they wanted to cut $50 billion from the rural hospital fund that we all worked so hard to put into the American taxpayers' tax cut, American families' tax cut, because the One Big Beautiful Bill handled that.
Preserving and expanding access to quality, affordable care has always been House Democrats' top priority. It should come as no surprise to Republicans that we wouldn't support their agenda that dismantles health care, makes it more expensive, and puts it out of reach for hardworking families. That's why we've done everything in our power to give Republicans the opportunity to do the right thing, to join with us, to work, to collect.
Democrats have repeatedly said that the healthcare issue is urgent, but Republicans say now is not the right time to have a healthcare debate. Instead, they say that if Democrats just join with them on the short-term continuing resolution, they'll have more room and more time to negotiate healthcare policy and the budget more broadly. Now, of course, the big question is how long this government shutdown will last. Well, that's anyone's guess. The key here is that the same three Democrats have been repeatedly voting with Republicans, giving Republicans hope that they'll be able to peel off Democrats one by one and hopefully get enough support to reopen the government. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook can continue working for the bank's board until at least January and maybe longer. The Supreme Court today has deferred the Trump administration's request to lift a stay on her removal from office. Chief Justice John Roberts submitted an unsigned order simply stating that the matter was deferred pending oral argument in January 2026. The move upholds a lower court's injunction on President Trump's attempt to fire Cook over alleged mortgage fraud. Cook has argued that he can't fire her without cause and denied the fraud claims. She has not been charged with the crime. The court's decision today puts in the spotlight the potential for a landmark case over the long-held shield of independence the Fed has enjoyed from the executive branch. The White House has pulled back its pick to lead the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It ended economist E.J. Antony's nomination before a confirmation hearing was scheduled. President Trump tapped Antony last month after firing BLS chief Erica McIntyre. He accused her of manipulating the government's jobs data. A White House official praised Antony as a brilliant economist and said President Trump will announce a new nominee very soon. The official did not specify the reason for withdrawing the nomination. The Heritage Foundation said Antony will continue in his post at the conservative think tank. The Bureau of Labor Statistics was set to release the September jobs report on Friday, but the government shutdown could force a delay. Joining us now to discuss the impacts of a government shutdown is public policy analyst and economist Michael Busler. He's a professor of finance at Stockton University. Good afternoon to you, Michael, as always, and thank you for joining us. So, as you know, Social Security checks, Medicare and Medicaid benefits keep going. Other essential functions continue as well. My question to you is, which government services stop immediately during a shutdown?
So there are a number of them. If you try to go to a national park or something, you're going to have a problem. If you try to get your passport renewed, you're going to have a problem. But all of the essential services, as you mentioned, for Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, that'll keep going. Congress is not in session. However, the way they have this worked out, they do get paid. A lot of government agencies will be shut down and workers will be laid off. Now, Trump is going to use this a little bit differently. When DOJ did their analysis, the federal government has 2.4 million workers. DOJ said they're operating with very antiquated systems. And if you put in modern systems, you could probably cut the workforce in half, down to 1.2 million. So President Trump is going to lay off a lot of people. He's not going to bring them all back. And this will be his way of reducing the workforce. There'll be some court action against that, but I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and you're right about that. President Trump said a lot of federal workers could be laid off. What is your view on, could a shutdown save money or cost more in the long run?
No, shutdown ends up costing money. Any way you look at it, it's costing money. The people that get laid off and are brought back do get back pay. The military won't get paid, but once this is ended, they'll get paid too. This shutdown costs money. It doesn't save money. And there's no reason why we have this shutdown. Basically, real quickly, why these things happen. The federal government's fiscal year runs from October 1st to September 30th. So on September 30th, yesterday, they didn't have a budget in place. So without a budget, you can't spend any money. This has happened dozens of times in the past. And every time what happens is Congress gets together and passes what they call continuing resolution, which means for the next 60, 90 days or so, we're just going to keep spending at the same level that we spent in last year's budget. And you hope in that 60, 90 days, they'll be able to work it out and come up with something that resembles a budget. Congress has punted on their budget responsibility really for decades, and it's now coming home to hurt us.
So, Michael, can you also comment on whether a shutdown will slow down the economy? Because I'm thinking here, workers, they're going to miss paychecks, and perhaps this will dampen spending, which, fuels the economy.
Yes. So all those people that are being laid off, whether they get their back pay eventually or not, they won't have money to spend. Now, a lot of them, in anticipation of this, save some money, knowing that a shutdown was looming, and they'll try to keep up a minimal level of consumption. But it will hurt consumption. It will hurt the economy. It will cost taxpayers. And this is something we elect officials to come up with a budget every year, and they don't do it. And as a result of that, they can't get together on how much spending should occur, and we end up with these continuing resolutions and shutdowns. I think we had one in 2018. I think we had one in 2011. Usually at the 11th hour, people compromise and avoids the shutdown. But this time, there was no compromise. The Trump administration said, look, we'll pass a continuing resolution. The Democrats said, well, look, when you passed the big, beautiful bill, you ended up cutting a lot of spending in healthcare. We want that spending brought back, and we're not going to vote for the continuing resolution unless you agree to bring that spending back. Trump and the Republicans wouldn't agree to that, and that's why we have the shutdown.
Okay, so if the shutdown could potentially slow the economy due to spending concerns, could it show up meaningfully in the next quarter's GDP numbers? Will we get a dip in the GDP?
It's possible, but we hope this shutdown doesn't last very long. Often they last a week. I think one lasted 3 weeks, and then when people are brought back to work, they get their back pay, so they will resume their spending. So I don't think it will have a significant negative impact on GDP growth, which is measured for the quarter. Although if you look at some data for October, retail sales or something, if the shutdown ends up lasting 2 or 3 weeks, you'll see some of those numbers go down.
So can you elaborate for us, does a government shutdown hurt the economy in a constant manner as time goes on, or does the damage get exponentially worse the longer it lasts?
Well, the longer it lasts, the worse it gets. You hope that it gets over shortly. The people that were laid off get their back pay and they resume their spending. But the longer it goes on, the more hardship it will cause to people, and the more harm it will cause to the economy. When we do these things, and we shouldn't do them, but when we do them, we should try to get these resolved as soon as possible. From what I've heard so far today, it looks like the Republicans aren't budging. We just want a clean continuing resolution. It looks like the Democrats aren't budging either. We're not voting for it unless you restore some of the healthcare spending. So if this goes on for some time, it will cause damage to the economy. It causes a lot of inconvenience for people too, and they're going to start to get upset. So I don't think the government will allow this to go on for any fairly long time period.
Okay, Michael, let me just ask you one more concern I have. Could it impact the U.S. credit rating? We know that debt gets paid even during shutdowns, but if this creates uncertainty around Washington's ability to govern responsibility, could that, sort of hurt the global credibility?
Well, it certainly isn't going to help. But as long as the federal government makes interest payments on the debt, there should not be any long-term negative consequences on the credit rating. On the other hand, you're not real sure exactly how the markets are going to react to this. So that is at least a risk, and a risk that could be avoided by simply getting this resolved and getting the government back in business.
Well, all right, Michael, good to talk to you today. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
House Democrats are speaking at the Capitol Hill right now. Let's take a look at that.
Are with us. Democrats have been at the negotiating table for months, and we want to work in a bipartisan way. We've always wanted to work in a bipartisan way to solve these issues. Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. They own this crisis. They own this shutdown. And instead, they want to use people as political pawns. Russ Vought wants to lay people off. He wants to fire people. He wants to use this shutdown to carry out the agenda that he has wanted all along. It's shameful and it's wrong. Republicans will do everything in our power to fix this Republican mess, to provide health care to people, and to ensure that the American people aren't left out in the cold, because it's the right thing to do. Leader Jeffries.
Thank you, Pete. Questions?
Thank you, Thank you very much, Mr. Leader. Two quick questions for you. One, I want to get your reaction to Russ Vought announcing this $18 billion hold on infrastructure projects in New York City. Do you think you're personally being targeted?
The Trump administration is targeting the jobs, thousands of jobs, of hard-working Americans, working-class Americans, and blue-collar Americans who are going to lose the ability to work at the 2nd Avenue subway site or at the other project that has been canceled related to the Cross Harbor Tunnel. That's consistent with what the Trump administration has consistently done throughout their time in office. Lose jobs, cause economic pain and hardship for the American people. It's shameful, but it's very consistent with the Trump administration's track record of failing on the economy and targeting working class Americans.
And then just one quick follow-up, just what's happening on the Senate side. It seems there have been some bipartisan discussions on the Senate floor where they may be discussing some type of short-term CR and trying to buy a little bit more time to work through some of these issues like the ACA. Have you been briefed on those discussions? Do you support what's happening in the other chamber?
Haven't had a conversation with Leader Schumer about any developments on the Senate floor, but House Democrats and Senate Democrats remain consistent and in lockstep in defense of the health care of the American people, and that's not going to change.
Leader Jeffries. Good afternoon. Jared Golden, as you know, was the only Democrat on your side of the aisle who voted for the original CR. He just put out a statement, said that the Democratic opposition to that was, quote, driven by the demands of hardball politics, driven by left-wing groups to make a show of opposition to President Trump. That's a pretty harsh statement from one of your own members. Do you refute that?
House Democrats have consistently made clear that we will sit down with anyone at any time and any place to enter into a bipartisan agreement that makes life better for the American people. We will not support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of everyday Americans. Health care is not a partisan issue. It's not a partisan issue. It's an American issue. And when you strip away health care from everyday Americans, that impacts Democrats, independents, and Republicans alike. When you strip away health care from the American people, as Republicans have done and want to continue to do, you're impacting people in rural America, in urban America, in the heartland of America, from coast to coast, and all points in between. This is not a partisan issue. Defending access to health care that's affordable, standing up for hospitals and nursing homes and community-based health clinics, that's not partisan. That's as American as baseball, motherhood, and apple pie.
But you must disagree with Mr. Golden.
Question?
And you're watching Democratic lawmakers again reiterating that this shutdown is due to Republicans and not Democrats. All right, we're going to take a short break now. Bomb squads detonate a suspicious device at a Utah State University just before a Turning Point USA event. Charlie Kirk's organization returns to Utah for the first time since its founder was assassinated there. Stay tuned.
As we naturally age, many people are getting zero amount of this incredible and unique substance. That's when we start seeing an impact in our joints, skin, nails, and even our digestion.
People ask me, Dr. X, what is the #1 supplement I should be taking? My answer is multi-collagen protein.
People's reactions to me, people were like, what are you doing? What is going on? You look amazing. You have a glow about you.
What makes Ancient Nutrition Multi-Collagen stand out from other brands? 10 types of collagen. It's grass-fed, pasture-raised with vitamin C and probiotics. It's proven to reduce joint discomfort rapidly, continuously, and persistently. It improves the appearance of crow's feet after 4 weeks and improves skin tone after 8 weeks. And it promotes hair thickness, growth, and a reduction in hair breakage.
It has transformed everything from my hair. Like, my hair was starting to kind of just, come out, and I don't have that anymore. My skin feels amazing.
Call the number on your screen and find out how to get a free bottle when you order, plus free shipping and our 30-day money-back guarantee. And as a bonus, we will include Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin's revolutionary book, Multi-Collagen Makeover, free with your order, plus free shipping and free returns.
I have implicit trust in Dr. Axe because the plan worked. I'm living proof of it.
This is the collagen protein that is backed by clinical studies. It's what my family uses, it's what I use, and I know you're gonna benefit in a big way as well.
Love the results or get your money back. This special TV offer is not available in stores. Call the number on your screen or go online now.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming. Please call or go online now. With your gift of $19 a month, we'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
New U.S. tariffs on pharmaceuticals, heavy-duty trucks, and home goods took effect at midnight. President Trump says the levies are designed to protect American manufacturers from what he calls unfair foreign competition. Imported heavy-duty trucks now face a 25% tariff. Branded drugs made abroad will be hit with a 100% tariff unless the company is building plants in the U.S. And home furnishings like kitchen cabinets and upholstered furniture will see duties of up to 50%. Trump says the measures will boost domestic industry and protect jobs. Some industry analysts warn higher import costs could raise consumer prices, but new vehicle and home sales remain strong for now. President Trump said a deal with Harvard University is drawing near. The Ivy League school would agree to open trade schools to provide instruction on artificial intelligence, engines, and other vocational programs. That would be part of a proposed $500 million settlement for past events of anti-Semitism and discrimination occurring on campus. Trump called it a big investment in trade schools done by very smart people, citing the need for skilled employees. The president added what he called their sins would be forgiven. A legal battle between the two sides began after Trump froze billions of dollars in federal funding over anti-Semitic and DEI practices. Harvard called the move unconstitutional and a violation of free speech. President Trump has signed an executive order vowing to defend the nation of Qatar in the Middle East. This comes after Israel launched a strike in Qatar against Hamas leaders last month. The order says the U.S. and Qatar have close cooperation and shared interests. The Middle Eastern nation also hosts U.S. forces, including the U.S. Central Command's forward operating base. The order reads, quote, "The United States shall regard any armed attack on the territory, sovereignty, or critical infrastructure of the state of Qatar as a threat to the peace and security of the United States. In the event of an attack, the order gives the U.S. the power to use the military to defend Qatar if necessary." Qatar is a major U.S. ally in the Middle East and has been acting as a key mediator in the Israel-Hamas war. Immigration and Customs Enforcement is getting some help in Missouri. Governor Mike Kehoe has given the go-ahead to the state's National Guard to assist ICE in various tasks. NTD's Daniel Monahan reports on that, plus updates on major ICE arrests, including suspected child predators, human traffickers, and violent criminals.
To our nation's soldiers.
Governor Mike Kehoe says Missouri is proud to join the Trump administration's efforts to keep the state and nation secure. He says public safety and the rule of law are his top priorities. Kehoe Tuesday authorized the Missouri National Guard to help make that a reality. Soldiers will help out with administrative, clerical, and logistical duties. Meanwhile, ICE is pushing back against accusations from Broadville, Illinois Mayor Katrina Thompson. She said federal agents were making war on the community. ICE Director Todd Lyon says the real threat comes from violent rioters targeting the Broadview Processing Center. He says local police have failed to intervene despite requests from ICE for assistance. Lyon says the lack of help from local cops has enabled agitators to escalate violence and placed federal officers, first responders, and Broadview residents in harm's way. The ICE director condemned fear-mongering and misinformation, warning it could fuel more violence. In just the past week, ICE says rioters arrested near the facility included 3 men carrying loaded firearms. As politicians in states like Illinois continue to criticize ICE for its actions, the agency says it's going about its work rounding up dangerous criminals. ICE says its latest arrests include pedophiles, drug dealers, and violent criminals. Some arrests include Walter Ramiro Hernandez Ortiz from Honduras, accused of lewd and lascivious behavior and battery. Jose Hilario Moreno Portillo from Honduras, arrested for sexual assault of a child. And Diony Mendez Lopez, a criminal illegal immigrant from Mexico, arrested for assault on a police officer, driving drunk, and resisting arrest. ICE Tuesday confirmed the arrest of 24 illegal immigrants in Wisconsin with suspected ties to a transnational human trafficking and drug trafficking ring. The intelligence-driven operation was based on information received from the FBI while interviewing alleged victims of the ring, including children. Some of those arrested had previously been convicted of sexually assaulting a child, hit and run, driving drunk or impaired, identity theft, and possession of narcotic equipment. Meanwhile, in Portland, Oregon, ICE arrested 4 criminal illegal immigrants accused of conducting laser strikes on a Customs and Border Protection helicopter. ICE called it an attempt to temporarily blind the pilot's ability to see, adding it was incredibly dangerous for the aircraft personnel and for the public safety. Aiming a laser pointed at an aircraft is a federal crime, and during the investigation it was determined the laser came from a nearby residence. A search warrant conducted by the FBI and Homeland Security investigations found 4 criminal illegal immigrants occupying the residence where the laser originated. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem sent a warning: you lay a hand on law enforcement, you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
An explosion at a New York City apartment complex this morning led to a partial collapse at the Mitchell Houses building in the Bronx.
We ran our dogs over this pile of bricks that is behind us, which is the structure that collapsed. It is a ventilation shaft connected to the boiler, which collapsed. We believe that's where the explosion occurred.
A chunk of the 20-story building gave way from floor to roof. This forced some residents to be evacuated. Mayor Eric Adams said there were no reported deaths or injuries. Inspectors are now checking the foundation of the building and affected apartments to make sure the building is safe and structurally sound.
There is a lot of concern, a lot of anxiety from the residents that live here at Mitchell about what happens in the long term. And so over the next several hours, as inspectors are in the building, we will do everything possible to make sure that we minimize the disruption and the anxiety of the residents and the families here in this working class community.
New York City Housing Authority said that it tests boilers ahead of the heat season, which Mayor Adams noted started today. NYC Housing Authority said it makes sure equipment is ready for the season and needs to see investigation results to see how this can be prevented in the future. A halt on $18 billion in infrastructure projects in New York City. The White House Budget Director Russ Vought shared on X that the funds have been frozen. He said this is to ensure they are not being used based on, quote, unconstitutional DEI principles. The funding was set for the Hudson River Tunnel project and the 2nd Avenue subway project. The Department of Transportation said it is focusing on these projects because they are arguably the largest infrastructure initiatives in the Western Hemisphere. It added that the American people want to see them completed quickly and efficiently. The DOT said no project reimbursements can be processed until the review is complete. Tense moments at Utah State University hours before the first Turning Point USA event in the state since Charlie Kirk's assassination. Utah State in Logan is 2 hours north of Utah Valley University, where Kirk was killed last month. Law enforcement yesterday detonated a suspicious device found at campus. Here are the details.
Authorities evacuated Utah State's old main building after an employee spotted someone place a device under a tree outside. A bomb squad later determined it was not explosive but detonated out of caution. The university says it does not believe it was an intentional threat or related to the event. The scare came amid heightened security for Turning Point USA's event, the first in Utah since founder Charlie Kirk was assassinated at Utah Valley University earlier this month. Thousands of students and supporters packed Utah State's arena to hear from speakers including Governor Spencer Cox and former Utah Congressman Jason Chavez. Wellness podcaster with Turning Point Alex Clark kicked off the event with a message.
I'm not here to eulogize Charlie Kirk. I am here to pass the torch on to every single one of you.
Security was visibly tight. Drones overhead, metal detectors at every entrance, and tactical teams on site. Despite the scare and heavy security, the night was less about mourning and more about carrying on the movement Charlie Kirk started.
We are witnessing the most powerful conservative youth movement in the history of America.
Utah Governor Spencer Cox urged people across the political spectrum to treat each other with respect.
He very passionately believed that anger never persuades and that hostility never convinces anyone. Peacemaking is not soft. It's the hardest thing you can do.
For many in the crowd, Kirk was a voice of truth, whose death has only strengthened their resolve.
I love that Charlie had that impact on so many people, and so many people have come out of the woodwork and declared who they are religiously, and I think it's a phenomenal thing.
Turning Point has seen tens of thousands of requests to start new chapters across schools nationwide.
President Trump announced a deal with Pfizer to reduce its drug prices. When can patients expect to see lower prices reflected in their out-of-pocket costs? We discuss this after the break.
Where did the time go? Somehow I lost all those years. Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here. How did I get here? see now.
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
That first time seeing my son, I feel like my life did a 180. I was already trying to change my perspective of life and really just be a father figure that I never had. Being present is the most important part. I'm still growing every day. Becoming a better version of myself. To be the better mirror for my son. I mean, he's just growing. He's becoming his own person. Man, at first I saw him dance, bro, he brings the vibes, you know what I'm saying? He brings the party no matter what. He really a definition of like why he loves somebody. And I love him to the death of me.
When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without a high school diploma. My name is Ariel, and my entire life changed when I took a chance and I got my high school diploma at age 22. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers. They were with me every step of the way, helping with my English and math, making sure I pushed through all the challenges.
So Ariel, we made this yearbook for you. It has notes from all the people that are here. Your achievement has set an example for so many students. Most importantly, your daughter.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you.
President Trump announced a deal with Pfizer to reduce its drug prices. Joining us to discuss is Jeffrey Tucker, the founder and president of Brownstone Institute. He's also the author of the book Life After Lockdown. Good afternoon to you, Jeffrey. Do you think this could finally lower drug prices for Americans?
It's a start. Pfizer is the least popular of all the drug companies among Trump's base. And so I think maybe he had to get the hard part over with first. So there was some uncomfortable optics in the White House with the head of Pfizer meeting with Kennedy and Dr. Oz and Trump and so on. But generally, the import of what he's doing here is highly significant. The backdrop here is that in the U.S., drugs are sometimes 10 times more expensive, twice and 10 times more expensive than the same drug. And just across the borders. And every American who's traveled to the UK, Mexico, or Canada, or the Far East, knows this. They could get the same drugs vastly cheaper in foreign countries, and it raises the question why. And the reason is that the U.S. government has not negotiated these prices downwards. So it ends up that the U.S. is subsidizing everybody else in the world, and the drug companies are perfectly happy with this. Well, he put out an executive order in consultation with his public health team earlier this year that just said, look, the U.S. is not going to pay any more for these drug prices, meaning Medicare and Medicaid, which feeds into what the private insurers are willing to pay, which is how these costs are determined. This is how prices are determined. He said, we're not going to pay any more than the lowest price in other favored nations around the world. And so that was a shock. This is something the Democrats have wanted to get done for probably decades, and Trump did it against the recommendations of Wall Street and so on and so on. But I think it was a wonderful step because the pricing system as it existed doesn't make any sense. So this is part of that larger fabric. So Pfizer was the first company to come in and agree to the terms, and everybody else is going to follow Johnson & Johnson, Merck, and all the other pharmaceutical companies. And with that, Trump is getting agreements to invest in the U.S. instead of always making his pharmaceutical products abroad, which is actually a very serious problem that the U.S. has right now. Is we essentially don't have any pharmaceutical manufacturing in the U.S. So he's trying to do all these things at the same time, and these are extraordinary steps. Like I say, people have been trying to get this done for decades, and Trump's the first one to actually do it.
Can I ask you what you think as to what is the likely long-term consequences of most favored nation pricing on U.S. consumer drugs?
Well, it's definitely going to lower the prices. Now, are they going to get as cheap as they have been abroad, or are prices abroad going to go up, and we're going to meet somewhere in the middle? I think it's an empirical question. My guess is that we're going to see more of equilibrium pricing across all world pharmaceuticals. That world is coming to us soon, which is exactly what free trade theory would predict. David Ricardo in the 19th century used to talk about the law of one price, that under a free trade system, everything would tend to cost the same amount in all countries in the world. So I think that's what's going to happen. Prices are going to go up in foreign countries, are going to probably come down in the U.S. So it's good for Americans, no question. But you're going to pay the same price in the U.S. that you could get that drug in Sweden or the UK or Mexico? Probably not immediately, but it is going to lower the cost of prescription medications. And that's going to be very good for American household budgets. Unfortunately, the U.S. takes more pharmaceuticals and drugs than any other country per capita by far anywhere in the world. So that's highly regrettable. This is a serious problem that RFK is dealing with. But in any case, it remains true that this is the situation in the U.S. So it's going to be this kinds of change is what's necessary to lower the burden on the household budget and make the market function somewhat more normally. I think this is probably good news for consumers. Long term, RFK is working on doing something about reducing the addiction that Americans have and dependency that Americans have on pharmaceutical products.
So it is true that President Trump is doing a lot on this front, but is there a sense of temporariness in relying on executive actions in this situation? Can you talk about what role does structural policy reform play in addressing drug pricing?
Well, you've put your finger on something it's been a problem since the executive order started coming out earlier this year. The question is, well, how do we make these changes permanent? And that's why you need a Republican Congress to mirror all these changes in legislation. And this one's particularly problematic because essentially the pharmaceutical companies don't like what Trump is doing here. They prefer the status quo as it is because America's where the money is. America's which is the country with generous health insurance programs that are paying unbelievable amounts of money for pharmaceutical products. Pharmaceutical companies like that. The pharmaceutical companies also have very big lobbies that are lobbying that lobby Congress, and many of these politicians feel a sense of dependency on their donations. So it's going to be hard to get this stuff mirrored in legislation. But your intuition is correct, and it's not just for this executive order. It's for all of his executive orders. They all need to be reflected in legislation. That's a major job for the White House right now, to get the Congress to go along with making these changes permanent.
Okay, Jeffrey, can we just get your comments on one more thing? How do you respond to the idea that lower drug prices will stifle innovation?
Yeah, I don't believe that. Their monopoly profits in the U.S. are so gigantic. One thing that they could do to save money and put it into R&D would be to stop squandering so much money on the advertising industry that is supporting so much media, right? So apparently that restriction's gone into place already. I think the FDA is going to demand a little more scrupulosity from pharmaceutical companies in explaining all the possible side effects of their drugs on their television advertising and newspaper advertising, which is going to make it much more difficult for them to advertise. So you take some of that advertising budget, put it into research and development, I think we're going to be good. The other thing is I just have to say, not as a medical professional, there's so many generics that are already available that are good drugs. We don't always need a patented innovation in order to guarantee health. Sometimes what we need is just better lifestyles, the use of proven generics, and good old-fashioned home remedies can go a long way too. We need to rediscover those things. That's a subject I'm going to be writing about in Epoch Times, I think, in the coming days.
All right, looking forward to that. It's always great to talk to you, Jeffrey. Thank you very much.
Always my pleasure. Thank you.
And a resolution in a case involving South Korean workers in the U.S. illegally. South Korea says the United States has agreed to allow workers into the country on short-term visas or a visa waiver program to help build industrial sites in America. The announcement came weeks after South Korea flew home more than 300 of its nationals. They were detained in an immigration raid at a battery factory being built on Hyundai's campus in Georgia. South Korea had pledged hundreds of billions of dollars in U.S. investments just weeks earlier in hopes of avoiding the Trump administration's steepest tariffs. European leaders are meeting in Denmark today to discuss support for Ukraine and broader defense concerns. It's the first opportunity for member states to debate a proposal to use frozen Russian assets to fund a loan to Ukraine. The European Commission proposed using the funds to finance a reparation loan to bolster Ukraine's war effort. The Commission's president praised recent defense investments by the European Union.
On defense, it's historic what happened in the last month on the European level, of course in close cooperation with NATO. But because the situation is as it is absolutely necessary that we have a massive surge in defense investment.
Just yesterday, the bloc announced the allocation of more than $2 billion to support Ukraine's defenses. That money is scheduled to be used for drone technology in Ukraine. This comes after EU and NATO member states agreed to build a so-called drone wall, which would detect and destroy incoming Russian drones. NATO members Poland, Romania, and Estonia all report recent airspace violations by Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and the UN's nuclear watchdog are sounding the alarm about increased safety risks at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. It's one of the 10 biggest nuclear plants in the world. Russian forces currently occupy the facility in southern Ukraine. The plant lost its external power supply more than a week ago. The Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency said emergency diesel generators are providing power for crucial cooling systems. He said there is no immediate danger, but the measures were, quote, not a sustainable situation in terms of nuclear safety. 3 suspected Hamas members have been arrested by German police in Berlin. Germany's Interior Minister Alexander Dobrindt said the suspects had been under surveillance for months.
We have also done everything possible to prevent this planned attack. This has also been successful. The whole situation demonstrates that the theory sometimes put forward that Germany is a safe haven for terrorism is incorrect. We are clearly a place of action for terrorists. That is why we must always be well prepared to defend ourselves against them.
German prosecutors say the 3 were allegedly acquiring weapons to target Israeli or Jewish institutions. Weapons and ammunition were also seized today. Dobrindt said also it is the only clear an attack that was planned. It has not been determined who or what would have been the target. The 3 arrested have been charged with membership in a foreign terrorist organization and preparing an act of violence endangering the state. In a disturbing report, Taiwan's government said today Communist China is turning to underhanded legal tricks to assert control over the democratic island nation. It says Beijing is employing a misleading interpretation of a key UN resolution to create the legal basis for a future attack. China says that 1970s UN Resolution 2758, which led to Taiwan's expulsion from the body and Beijing assuming a seat at the UN, gives international legal backing to its claims over the island. Taiwan was formerly called the Republic of China. Its government fled to the island in 1949 after losing a civil war with Mao Zedong's communists. The U.S. State Department called China's statement an international mischaracterization and misuse of Resolution 2758. It said the comments are part of China's broader coercive attempts to isolate Taiwan from the international community. Is Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping trying to shift Washington's Taiwan policy? Xi stated Tuesday that he's against Taiwanese independence. He made the remark at an event marking the 76th anniversary of the founding of the Chinese regime. This comes after the Wall Street Journal reported that Xi is trying to press President Trump to formally oppose Taiwan's independence, and he may have that leverage. That's because Washington is eager to make a trade deal with Beijing. Following the report, Taiwan's foreign ministry confirmed Washington isn't changing its policy on the island. NTD's Tiffany Meyer has this report.
In fact, the United States has already made relevant statements on this point, mainly stating that its position on Taiwan remains unchanged and it opposes any unilateral changes to the status quo. In addition, China's action continues to be the single greatest threat to peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait.
The Taiwan Strait separates Taiwan from mainland China. Beijing has been regularly deploying military jets to fly near the island. The Chinese Communist Party sees Taiwan as part of its territory and has vowed to take it under control by force if necessary. That's despite never having ruled it. The U.S. acknowledges Beijing's stance toward Taiwan, but does not endorse it. Washington maintains official relations with Beijing, though it sells weapons to Taiwan so it can defend itself. President Trump has said several times that China won't invade Taiwan while he remains in office. The recent remark from U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick has sparked concerns on America's defense commitment to Taiwan. Lutnick suggested that instead of relying on Taiwan to make most of America's advanced semiconductors, Taiwan's microchip production capacity should be split 50-50 between the U.S. and Taiwan.
So the idea that I pitched them was, let's get to 50-50. We're producing half, and you're producing half.
Taiwan's semiconductor industry is known as the Silicon Shield. The idea is that the microchips that Taiwan makes are so vital for U.S. security that Washington would be compelled to protect the island. Lutnick said his goal is to produce enough microchips here at home to fulfill 40% of U.S. demand by the end of Trump's term. The shift would require $500 billion investment dollars. Analysts say the U.S. wants control over key supply chains, especially the chip industry. But Taiwan plays an important role in geopolitical competition, so the U.S. can't ignore the island's security. To respond to the reports about Washington's Taiwan policy, the U.S. State Department says that the U.S. position on Taiwan has not changed, adding it still adheres to the One China policy, which is based on the Taiwan Relations Act, as well as the 3 U.S.-China joint communiques, and the 6 assurances to Taiwan. All of these exist to safeguard the status quo.
A bear in Alaska wins an annual competition for fattest bear. His victory comes despite 2 severe injuries. Stay tuned for that.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our biggest 3-in-1 sale ever with a limited edition product, a back-in-stock special, and a closeout deal you won't find anywhere else. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get our MyPillow bed sheets, only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings. Regular $119.98, only $29.88. Once they're gone for good. How about our My Towels? They're finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And for the first time and the only time ever, get our limited edition premium My Pillows. They're made with Giza cotton and designer gusset. Queen $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the best offers ever. Quantities are extremely limited, so order now.
What if kids in America didn't have to go to bed hungry tonight? What if our moms, dads, and grandparents could put healthy food on the table every day to help us grow strong? What if all of our friends and neighbors had fresh food too, and there was no hunger at all in America? And what if there was a way today for you to help? Call now or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, just 63 cents a day. So many of us don't have enough food to eat, but your monthly gift means families across the country and in your community can fill plates with food. Kids can get healthy meals year-round, even when school's out, and our neighbors can have fresh food. Food that moms, dads, entire families need to thrive. But right now, more people are facing hunger. Feeding America works from coast to coast with partner food banks, food pantries, and meal programs. It takes all of us to make that happen. Will you help too? Please call the number on your screen or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org and give just $19 a month, and we'll send you this free canvas grocery bag. It's our way of saying thank you for helping to end hunger for our neighbors. Because no kid, no mom or dad, nobody should go hungry in America. Nobody. So what if today was the day you could help nourish futures for our friends, our families, for all of us? Ending hunger is possible. What if we end it together? Call or give online today at helpfeedingamerica.org and your gift can be doubled. Thank you.
Walmart has announced plans to remove synthetic food dyes and 30 other ingredients from its store brands in the U.S. by January 2027. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has encouraged the food industry to eliminate synthetic dyes by the end of next year. Walmart is targeting certain preservatives, artificial sweeteners, and fat substitutes as well. The nation's largest retailer said its goal would affect about 1,000 products, including salty snacks, baked goods, drinks, salad dressings, and frosting. In recent months, major food companies such as Kraft Heinz, Nestle, and Conagra brands have pledged to eliminate synthetic dyes. Walmart said its decision reflects the availability of alternatives for maintaining product quality, taste, and affordable pricing. A bear named Chunk has been crowned the fattest bear in Alaska's Katmai National Park. The final tally showed Chunk receiving over 96,000 votes, making him the winner of Fat Bear Week. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on the annual contest.
In Alaska, Chunk is top bear at Katmai National Park and Preserve. Program manager Matt Johnson said the 1,200-pound competitor beat out 11 others to win the title of fattest bear. But the road to victory wasn't easy.
He started off the year with 2 serious injuries, an injury to his paw, also a broken jaw. Nevertheless, he managed to persevere and win this competition.
Voters in the online contest could review before and after photos of the bears. The animals are typically lean at the start of summer and fattened at the end. But due to safety concerns, the bears aren't actually weighed. Some fans choose their favorite based on looks, while others dig into the bear's backstory.
People are able to see the bear's antics from anywhere in the world, from their living room. And over 1 million people vote for the bears during Fat Bear Week.
According to Johnson, more than 11 million people watch the bears captured on camera at explore.org each year. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Day 1 of government shutdown. What seems like a straightforward proposal to continue current levels of government spending has devolved into an all-out messaging war that is impacting millions of federal workers. Find out more about that after this break.
Bladder control aisle. You won't shop here again. Your private business is your own. The constant struggle is over. Now there's a better way. It's HDIS. We home deliver bladder control products. We understand how you feel. For over 25 years, we've home delivered to many of the 20 million Americans who deal with incontinence. We offer all brands. We pay shipping and use plain, unmarked boxes. If we can help you or someone you care for, call for your free product sample pack and $45 in money-saving coupons. Our counselors will help you choose the right product. And unlike stores, we're always in stock. You'll get what you need. Satisfaction guaranteed. HDIS, the better way.
For your free sample pack with your free catalog, $45 in money-saving coupons, and free product samples, call 1-800-701-6159. That's 1-800-701-6159.
Whispered across generations, a hidden secret unveils the essence of longevity and vitality, a timeless legend regarding energy and wonder. Rooted in ancient health wisdom, we proudly introduce Pure Tang Black Ginseng, a 100% natural organic energy drink made from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng. It takes 2,260 days and nights from seed to growth, undergoing a meticulous 9-step process of steaming and drying. Black ginseng reaches its full potency, enriched with ginsenoside RG3 and enhanced absorption efficiency. No sugar, no caffeine, no artificial ingredients. Experience the pure natural power of Pure Tang Black Ginseng. Nourish your body, strengthen your immunity, and boost your energy. To order Pure Tang Black Ginseng, please visit puretang.com.